Michelle McKinney Hammond is a triple threat. As one of the top Christian relationship experts, she's a best-selling author, a motivational speaker, and a talk show host.
A diva never does what a diva can do when a man is around.
She personifies hope for the Christian single. But what people don't know is, like many of us, she battles her own set of disappointments, especially when it comes to marriage.
So I was reading your book about disappointment, and you say this line that I love. If I bought a wedding dress for every time someone prophesied that I was going to get married, I would own a wedding boutique.
I would, a fabulous one, of course. Well, you know, I have this revelation about disappointment, Christy. A friend of mine said this to me years ago, and I got it at the time, but I think I get it on a whole new level now. And it's simply this, that disappointment is a disappointment, okay? It is really true that a lot of us, whether single or married, make appointments with God that he never agreed to. And when he doesn't show up, then we're disappointed. But we've really created the disappointment, because when we make an appointment with someone, we need to check in and make sure that they agree to the appointment.
So let's talk about the personal aspect of disappointment in your life. What are some of the disappointments that you faced?
Oh, I mean, of course, I've found love and lost it 100 times. You know, I've probably written several poems on it. And it's always exhilarating, isn't it, when you're in it? And then when it ends, it's devastating.
Yeah.
And I have to admit that in some of those instances, I didn't check in with God. Well, probably most of them I didn't check in with God, let's face it, you know. But Christy, I've experienced it on every level. I've had the death of a boyfriend early on in life. I have been devastated financially. I have been devastated in my ministry, in my career. I've been fired and rehired and fired again. So pretty much on every level. I've had health issues where you're disappointed because you think, well, this wasn't supposed to happen to me. This wasn't supposed to happen to my body. Why did God allow this? So I think that along the journey of life, in the midst of all that character building that he's doing with us, he strips us, he breaks us, he prunes us. He allows the circumstances of life to manipulate us into who he wants us to be, so that we end up looking like him, having way more grace than we started off with. And that actually demands disappointment. It demands it. So I think that the bottom line is it stretches our trust while building our character.
Yeah. How can we guard our heart in the process? Disappointment's one thing, but when your heart breaks, how do you recover?
Well, you know, it takes time. That sounds really trite, but it's true. It takes time, and it takes a rebuilding of your trust with God even, because you go, whoa, you actually let that happen? I mean, you actually will let me fall over the side of a cliff? Right? But you know, how obnoxious and egotistical are we really? I mean, wasn't Jesus broken? Didn't his heart break?
Yes.
Wasn't he despised, rejected, abused, used, betrayed, lied on? I mean, he went through it all first. Yeah. He wasn't exempt. And there's this myth in Christendom that we're supposed to just tiptoe through the roses of life without a thorn. And that is not true. Jesus said we will have trouble, but be of good cheer, for I've overcome it. And the inclination there is for us to understand that we also will overcome it. What does that mean for us in the midst of our disappointment? That we cling to him tighter, that we allow him to collect those tears in a bottle like he promised he would. To be the comforter. He said he would not leave us comfortless. Therefore, that suggests we would need comfort. Now, do we want the comfort? No, we want back what we wanted. And so I think that part of the healing process is being willing to let go of what was let go of in our life. To say, okay, I'm not going to run after that. I'm not going to try to get it back. I'm not going to try to retrieve it, because God could retrieve it for you if he wanted you to have it. So let me now focus on the healing process. Let me focus on his comfort. Let me focus on the instruction that's coming out of this experience. What is it about me that I need to learn? What didn't I surrender? Because really that's it. I cannot be hurt when I'm surrendered. And I think the best way to guard your heart is to surrender your heart to God.
Yeah.
Say, God, you be the keeper of my heart, and you let me know when I need to let go of it and trust somebody else to hold it. In the meantime, I'm not going to throw my heart into the hands of someone who might not be ready to hold it and care for it the way God does.
And as you were talking, you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking about Jesus and the disciples. Jesus faced disappointment head on when Judas betrayed him.
Yes.
When Peter denied him.
Yes.
When all these things went down, he kept them close to them, knowing what they were going to do. But yet Jesus loved them.
Yes.
And still had great, expectation from them, even though many of them disappointed him.
Well, he didn't expect divinity from humanity, and we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've gotten to the place where I don't expect anything from anyone, but I expect everything from God. I'm very demanding about God showing up because he promised that he would, and he's not a man that he should lie. But I have the grace for people. And I'm telling you, that is the thing that has set me free the most. I don't get as disappointed as often because I don't have that same expectancy. I don't expect men to be Jesus in my life. Men are men. My sister friends are my sister friends. Yeah. They're flawed. They're broken, just like me. And how dare I be disappointed in others when I'm sure I've disappointed others? But we never sit and think about that.
No, we don't.
Who have I disappointed?
Right?
Because it's all about me, We all need grace.
Yeah.
And grace is a huge component of getting past disappointment. The grace to see people as they are, to see them in their fallen nature, to know they did the best they could, or maybe they didn't. Even if they did it deliberately, even that is a part of their humanity.
How can we keep disappointment from paralyzing us? For instance, someone falls in love. That person's the one for me. All of a sudden, that person walks out and they say to themselves, I will never love again. Or the person who says, all I want is a child. I want a baby. They get pregnant, they have a miscarriage, and they say, I can't do it again, I can't go there again. We've all done that, where because of some form of expectation was unmet, and then hurt prevails, that we say, I can't walk out in faith anymore, I can't do it anymore. What do you say to that person?
That is a hard one. I mean, even for me, I have to admit that in some areas of my life, I'm totally emotionally shut down. It's just a safer place to live in, and I have enough distractions where I don't really have to stop and think about that. But then one day God shows up, Christy, and he says, it's time to deal with this. He will not allow us to continue in a state of numbness. And he will take your hand and he will lead you right to that place that you feared the most and say, now look at it, deal with it, hold it, squeeze it. And God wants to get to the root of those things inside of us that tremble in the midnight hour, that pull away from the experiences that he really wants us to embrace. Why does he want us to embrace it? It's not just about us. It's about helping someone else through the experience. And you can't comfort someone else with a comfort you haven't received. It goes back to trusting God every time.
Yeah.
The enemy is after our worship, and when we're shut down, we can't worship in that area. And God wants to say, no, I want you to trust me in this area. I want you to dare to try again so you can see my provision in this area so that you've got a story to tell. Not your story, but my story.
Let's really take it from a practical standpoint.
Okay.
For that person who says, you know what? I just lost my job. I don't know what to do, or my husband just left. I don't know what to do, or I've been waiting for relationships and it hasn't come my way. I don't know what to do. What do we say to them?
Well, first of all, accept the fact that disappointment will come. It should never be a surprise. Fact. Okay? You're not exempt from it. It's not a violation of who you are as a human being. It is a natural part of life. Okay? Number two, remember, God's still on the throne. And while he's sitting there, he loves you and he wants the best for you. He hasn't abdicated. He hasn't deserted you. And if he allowed that to happen, then certainly he has a plan. Now, your job is to find out what it is instead of focusing on the disappointment. So now go to him and ask him. Get in his face. He's waiting for you. What are we going to do with this mess, God? What are you going to do about it? And what's my part in the decision that you've made about what you're going to do? So it's very, very important for us to say, okay, God, show me the blind spot in this. Where did I go wrong? Be willing to let him show you.
That's good.
Because we like to run from the truth. No, it was the other person's fault. You know what? As long as it's the other person's fault, you will be disappointed again.
Where can we find our hope when the unexpected happens.
Only in God, Christy. If we are to glorify him, his reputation is at stake. What we look like, what our lives look like, reflects on who he is as our God, as our Abba Father. And so my hope is in that he will always make himself look good through me. But he's faithful. He is a God of process, and he knows the way we take. He knows we're puffed up dust, but he's working it out. And you got to trust that.